Welcome, everyone. Welcome to day 2 of the Leaders of the New Paradigm. I'm super excited to see you all, to start a brand new day here in New Zealand. It's amazing. I can see that Rocky is here. Yay. So I will bring you on.
Hi.
Hello, Rocky. How are you?
I'm great. You doing well?
Yes. Oh my God. I love your background. I love plants. It's so
Oh,
luxurious.
yeah, it's my little urban jungle.
That's
Uh,
beautiful. Yes.
keeps me calm.
Also, everyone, this is Rocky. Rocky, this is everyone. I'm very happy and grateful that you're joining the summit and starting day 2. And I'm just going to let everyone know a little bit how we've met and what you're doing. Basically, I'm just going to rave about you a little bit, and then it's going to be all about you and what you share, because I know that you share so much, and I cannot wait actually to catch up and really understand the depth of your offerings. Because I've met you, I think it was 6 years ago. It's always challenging for me to think about the past and like, oh, was it?
Right. I think it was 2016 or 2017. It's been a
Yeah.
while.
Yes, and you came to New Zealand in my very small little city at the end of the world. And I had the chance to meet you during one of your workshops. And as soon as I met you, I was blown away. I was blown away by your charisma, but also by your knowledge. So I went to one of your yoga workshop, and it was back bend. And I remember we were doing like drop back bend and then coming back up. And you were surprised because we did not have the level that, that you were used to back in the States. So you had to really help us understand how to do all of that. And I really loved it. And I instantly felt that there was a connection, because, like when we sometimes meet people, we feel like, oh, there is something special with that person. I would love to get to know that person. And I know that you were really busy, that you are, traveling and teaching yoga, but I thought, I'm just going to ask him if he's free tomorrow or another day, and I can show him around, because I had no kids. And then that happened. So basically you say, oh,
Yeah.
yes.
That was such a fun day. I remember it very well. I still have all the pictures of us up on the lookout, and you were such a
Yeah.
wonderful host and such great company.
Yes, we had a lot of fun driving around the windy roads of Wellington and doing the traditional yoga poses as we would do back in the days. And then since then, I've been following you, and I've been really loving seeing you grow more into your own uniqueness and sharing your own voice. And you've grown into exploring so many of your talents and your gifts and your interests and desires. I know that you're an artist, you sing, you make amazing songs. You also have a unique way to show your personality and everything that you do in your life. I absolutely love following your stories, because it takes me in another reality from what I experienced in New Zealand, So yes, I love everything that you share. I know that I know that you've been diving really deep into human design, and that you have shifted your offerings. I would love to know, if you could share with me and everyone where you are at, what you offer now.
Sure.
Yeah.
Well, I feel like it's always been for me a continuation of my own personal quest for self-realization, self-mastery, to really make sense of what it means to be alive as myself in this body. And that journey, artistry is a big part of that. How I kind of tap the abstract nature of my being and endeavor to communicate that and express that through music or performance or my body. Um, and that sort of dovetailed into yoga. I think at the time I really resonated with the idea of yoga helping me just quiet my mind so I could listen more deeply, and I could feel and sense and make greater sense out of what life was showing me at the time. So that journey progressed through about 16, 17 years of teaching and traveling when we met, and ultimately leading teacher trainings and teaching online in a lot of different formats. But I started to feel for the last handful of years, that there was something that was out of integrity for me in what I was teaching, in terms of kind of my adherence to the more traditional forms of yoga. Even though I was adapting yoga in my own ways, it felt limited to me, and it felt like, you know, I was teaching a lot of techniques and tools and principles and practices. But to be honest, my own sort of quality of inner peace was rocky, no pun intended. And I felt as though the fullness of who I am, was not able to be expressed solely through the singular identity of yoga teacher. And so when I found human design, when it stumbled upon across my lap, something that really stood out to me about that, for me as a generator type, is that I have an inner authority. We all have an inner authority to really assess and to feel into what's correct for us. Like, you know, I realized so much of my life I was trying to control my environment, trying to figure out what I need to think to manifest the outcome that I want so that I can feel okay in myself. And my pursuit with yoga found me really exploring and investigating a lot, but underneath it was this desire to really feel in control of myself and in control of my life, and to kind of weather the storm, the chaos of things. So when I found human design and it presented me with this notion that I have an inner authority, a sort of inner wisdom that I can check in with, which is my sacral, it was very interesting for me to note the things in my life that I felt obligated to continue offering. You know, people pleasing, meeting others' expectations, the hustle to survive in many ways, and to and the discomfort was sort of dropping your mask and stepping into a new form, or expressing a new newer aspects of who you're coming to realize you are. So over the last year, I realized a lot of things that were sort of normalized in my life, my body was really saying it was time to move on from them. That it was like, I don't really want to do this anymore. And, you know, it's a scary journey to really surrender the mind and its need for certainty, and really drop into an experiment of trusting in your own body and your own inner wisdom. And that is the journey that I'm on right now. And it's found me, you know, in similar fashion to yoga. I was learning a lot about yoga, so I started teaching it. I was learning a lot about human design. I started offering readings. After a while, I realized I don't know that I really want to be a human design reader, but I really love really getting back to the root of what I've always enjoyed doing with myself and with my friends, which is just spending time with people and giving people a space, an opportunity to likewise drop their own mask and feel seen and safe to express who it is they are. So the work that I offer now is more in the realm of mentorship and coaching, relative to, you know, all of the different tools that I've studied over the years are sort of in my back pocket, from human design, gene keys, yoga, of course, meditation, the emotional freedom techniques, you know, the different music. But it's less about really teaching those and presenting those and offering those, and more about just offering myself to my clients, to my people, and to continue to sort of role model and move myself through my own process and welcome others on that journey with me. So in a nutshell, the work that I offer now, I would say, is accurately described as sort of authenticity mentorship, or self-leadership support. And it continues to evolve as I continue to evolve.
Oh, I love that. This is just so amazing. I can so understand and relate and feel everything that you're sharing. Thank you so much, because, you know, in the quest of self-realization, so many of us, we try different techniques that are offered by others. And the science of yoga is absolutely wonderful, and it is so ancient, it has so many benefits. But I have also found myself in the same position as you were, and today something that is really restrictive. There is something that cannot be expressed, and I might betraying something that is sacred. I might betraying myself and my audience when I share that this is not enough, when it is supposed to be one of the best proven way to attain self-realization, like the monk in the cave. It's like, I'm not a monk, I love a good party, I like to go out, I'm with people. And then what's about the rest? You know, how can I bring that and weave that into my everyday life? So I love that you really, when you mentioned especially that your body was basically saying no more, And I would love for you to develop a little bit, because I know that you had felt some kind of like the inspiration, the message, the intuition that something was not quite aligned yet, but then you kept going. And also being a generator, I have done that so much in the past. I opened a yoga studio and I was, okay, so I can say that because it's long gone now. But I was hating my life so much that I would go and I was just putting on a smile like that. And I was like, I freaking hate this shit. I don't want to be here. I hate this. I just want to go home and I just want to cry. And I just want to be with my cats and my kids. And I had to do it just to pay the bills. And also because I had created this persona. Oh, I've opened this amazing studio and all of like. And then when I burned out, I had no other option but just to really go deep into realizing what has happened there, because I hadn't listened to the first messages of my intuition saying this is not aligned, and then of my body basically showing me. So could you develop a little bit on the feeling that you have had that have really inspired you to finally make the step from living one reality to weaving that or creating that into the new reality that have stepped into?
Well, I'll speak a little bit about the generator type, since you're also a generator, and 70% of the population more or less is a generator or some version of generator. And what makes the generator type unique is that we have the sacral center, the second chakra, defined, which means it's a consistent energy that we have access to, and it's a powerful motor. The sacral motor is what governs and permeates and creates the field of life force that the planet runs on. We're sort of like the batteries, the builders, the generators of this Maya, this field of information. And as such, the generator type can be very easily enslaved by the mind, because the sacral motor is not one that you can, decide from your mind that you're going to create something with it and then force yourself to build, from that sort of place of initiation or assertion. The sacral is a motor that dances responsively with life. So it's a motor that responds to what your aura is bringing to you. Us generator types have very open, enveloping, permeable auras. And ultimately, when we talk about the generator and all the different types in design, we're speaking about the mechanics of one's aura. And so because we're so porous and because we're so permeable and we're taking in so much and we're pumping out so much life force, inspiration for the generator doesn't often come in through the mind. It comes in through our outer reality. Someone comes to us and says, hey, do you want to build this with me? Or you go take a yoga class, and after the class, the teacher says, hey, I'm going to begin a teacher training in a few weeks. Would you like to join? And when we have that input as generators, our sacral will light up and it will give us a response that lets us know if we're available, if we have the available energy for that or not. And it communicates through sound. So the sacral sounds are and we get so conditioned out of really listening to and trusting our gut, trusting the sounds that we emanate in response to life. And that's really, as generators, how we know what's correct for us. It's not that we get so conditioned to be manifestors, figure out what you want, and then do all these steps to achieve it, or decide with your mind, visualize it, and then take a whole bunch of action to make it happen. And that works for some types, but for us as generators, it's a pretty surefire way to get our sacral motor all jammed up, which we experience as frustration. Frustrated energy is when we're disconnected from the abundance of life force that flows through us. And so the journey for the generator is for all types really, is to wait, to pause, to relax into your power, and wait and see what life brings you. And instead of trying to figure out with your mind what you're going to do and what you need to achieve, because all those things ultimately are based on an innate sense inside that we're not okay. I'm not okay right now. I need to figure out what I can do to control my environment so that something will happen that will render me at peace within myself, or satisfied, within myself. And so it's a I call it like a slow motion trust fall, really experimenting with what it means to be a generator, because we have to move through the Maya of so much distortion and conditioning, mental pressure that has convinced us that we're here to, you know, manifest and imprint our will on to control the universe with our mind, which is really frustrating. And it leads to a lot of us feeling like failures. You know, we do everything right. You know, I'm being a good yogi, a good spiritual person. I'm helping save the world and serve my community. I'm doing everything right. Why do I feel so burnt out and frustrated? Because most of those things that you're doing to please other people or to prove that you are deserving of the satisfaction that you ultimately, that is your birthright, are not correct for you. You know, they're born of the mind. And so to get back to your question, like the process was, for me, has really been learning how to relax. I mean, I taught yoga for many years, but, you know, in many instances we're creating postures and then learning how to relax within those postures, or we're going to meditate and then practicing relaxation. But, you know, as these practices, quote unquote, come off the mat and into the world, every moment of every day is an opportunity to observe what shows up, what that brings up for you, how you can relax into that a little bit more and not feel the pressure to fix everything around you. And then from that place, you start to feel this energy flowing through you in response to what's coming. You know, and someone comes up to you and says, hey, do you want to, you know, do you want to go into business together and start a new enterprise on baking? and your sacral goes, uh-huh. And you're like, wait, I had no idea that was, I didn't know that was something I really, really wanted, but yeah, actually I do. And conversely, you know, do you want to sub my class for me tomorrow morning? Because I'm going on a trip. But I should do it because I want to be a good person. So, you know, then we end up our aura is what's conditioning the world. So we end up conditioning our students, our community, the people that we're trying so hard to please. We condition them with a lot of frustration. It's a frustrated world. And that liberation really, and that alchemization of our energy, the energy of the world, I believe, comes through the generator type that can get our vehicle, get our form, our embodiment more centered in what's truly correct for us.
Oh my God, I absolutely love this. This is such an exciting conversation, because what I feel is that, you know, how you say there are 70% of the population that are generators. And now, I don't know, I would no idea about the percentage, but can imagine that most of the generators are working against their design. So they work in frustration, and that's what's creating this enslavement matrix. And if all of us, or if just like a bigger percent of us could actually live from excitement and joy and juiciness, and just literally keeping our aura clear within the excitement of life and doing the things that we just feel like doing, because it's actually really revolutionary to me to be able to do exactly as I want when I want it, and not even having to prove it or justify why it is okay for me to do that. If so many more of us could actually follow that guidance and our own design, and knowing more about our own design, then like reality would shift very, very fast, because the amount of love and joy and simply pleasure that we would radiate working with that, can really see like shift happening. So that's really leadership. And it's like being able to step into leadership requires to know the self, because if we don't know ourselves, we're always gonna spend way too much energy into things that are not aligned. So it's kind of, we deplete ourselves instead of, when we understand our architecture. I see really much like human design, like Gene Key or astrology or numerology. It's a bit like the architecture of our current incarnation, like the vehicle, what we have been given. And once we understand that, it's like we have the roadmap, but then we can decide wherever we want to go. So to me, really being able to understand and work with people like you is to be able to step more into our own sovereign soul alignment. And then we can start leading for others, because we can also know that they're very different. Like I have one of my best friend who's also my one of my closest assistants. I have a couple of assistants, but she's the one that's always working very close to me, and she's a projector. And to start with, we did not really know much about the dynamic. And when we started going a little bit more into it, I have learned to change the way I talk to her, I ask her work, because she was getting like super stressed out or really overworked. Because for me, it's like, oh, let's go, go, go. And she was like, need space, need to relax. So I feel like our human design can really help us step into sovereignty, step into leadership, and also a more intentional connection with others, because we understand their own flavors and how we
Yes,
can communication with the people around us.
absolutely. And that's what lights me up the most. I mean, to not go too deep into my design, I'm the incarnation cross of spirit. And you know, it's all about the transparency necessary to really see the other and to create sustainable connections based on the integrity of like your electromagnetic resonance with somebody or harmony with somebody. So I nerd out and get really turned on by exploring the nuances of what actually happens when we come together and what possibilities are there if we're both, you know, if we are both in integrity and both aligned and correct within ourselves. Then when we condition each other, because we're all conditioning each other all the time, but if we're conditioning each other from our what we would say in design is our definition, you know, from who it is that we uniquely are, what's consistent within us, not the things that we've been told that we're supposed to be, or that we're out there in the world chasing because we think it's going to bring us something that's missing. But when we are rooted and anchored in who it is that we are consistently, and that's what we're pumping out into the world, you know, our field of information, the body of information that we are changes. And I see this in you for sure. I mean, as you've dropped deeper into alignment with your unique codes and your potent frequency, that's what this is, you know, that's how we wake up the world, I believe, is one generator at a time, one individual at a time who starts to get in sync with the flow of life in a way that's sustainable, in a way that's correct. The ripple effect is really huge. And so I don't think leadership is something that you decide you want to step into necessarily. I don't think it's a class you take or a course that you sign up for that teaches you the things to do to be a good leader. You know, leadership begins with self-leadership, you know, how you lead yourself into deeper integrity with what's correct for you, which requires a lot of humility, requires a lot of surrender, and a lot of falling over and getting yourself, you know, all these different things that are so human and so innate to our process. At a certain point, you know, folks start to recognize leadership is something that's recognized. You know, so when you say that you see me as a leader, when others have said that they see me as a leader, it's like, oh, people are recognizing something in me that's always been there. But now I'm surrendered into that journey, and part of that also involves like continuing to define for myself what leadership actually is, especially as you know, this is the topic for the new paradigm, because it's a new paradigm. Leadership in the new paradigm looks different.
Oh yes, very different. I love that you share that, because when we can receive this mirror for people that say, oh, I see you as a leader, I love what you do, it's amazing, I'm so happy I came across you. We can have this inflation of ego if we are not careful, and always doing the inner work is like, oh, why is the ego being inflated? And what is it that I can refine to actually, you know, to me, it's always like break the pedestal. Every time I have someone that comes, one of my students like, oh, you are there, I am here, like if we're gonna meet in person, it's like, oh my God, I cannot believe I'm gonna meet you. So it's like, I'm just I'm just a human being. And it's like breaking the pedestal to be able to allow people to rise up into their own truth, their own divinity, their own power, and to show them that what they see in us, they already have in them. It's just that we have activated certain codes, certain frequencies, certain qualities that they have, but they are not turned on fully yet. So they see us like, oh, I want to also become a leader, or I also want to be like a coach or a mentor, abundance coach, or whatever they want to whatever they see in us. And I always say, and I want to remind that to everyone, that this is why there is this summit happening. This was my intention, to show everyone that when they get inspired by us, it is because we were also inspired by other people, and that we allow that to open a door, and to say, oh, I'm so inspired by what that person does. I want to know more. I want to step into that reality as well. But we do that with our own flavor. And then we learn something, and then we embody that, we integrate that. But it's always something else, because I know that you like to geek, and everybody on this summit, all like geeks, you know, like quantum geeks, spiritual geeks, philosophical geeks, whatever. And there's always something new to learn. So we never stop learning, we never stop growing. And we do that when we allow ourselves, instead of feeling jealous or envious or frustrated because, oh, these people, they've got that and I don't, so boo hoo. It's like, oh, these people have got that, they're embodying that. Why do I feel interested in that? Why I'm triggered by that? And so that's really a powerful pathway of accelerated evolution. So this is why I wanted to have like this hub, this summit, of having all of you guys, you know, coming, because it opens so many windows.
The intention is to tap into perhaps what some of those stories are that we've been told, that we've taken on as true, that have created a narrative that says it's not safe or appropriate for us to be who we truly are in the world. And I think, you know, underneath all the different forms of trauma, abuse, discord that exist, frustration that exists within humanity, is this underlying notion that we are not enough as we are. And that's what causes us to put on a lot of different masks, and to step out into the world so that we can feel safe, we can feel seen, we can feel respected, we can feel loved, we can feel okay, you know. And after a while, like we realize, like, I'm so exhausted, so burnt out. Why am I so tired? It's not even that I'm doing so much, I'm just exhausted. And it's, well, because you're trying to be something that you think you need to be in order to feel okay in the world. And so what happens if you just relax and drop the mask and express what's on your heart? And maybe that'll stir up some stuff. Maybe it'll be uncomfortable, but then can you relax through that discomfort? Can you see what's been stored in this river of energy that you are, that's blocking your flow? And as that releases and more energy comes through, then you get to discover the life that's uniquely set up for you.
And I love how you share about, like, I can really relate to that, because I consciously remember putting mask on as I was progressing from being a child to becoming a teen, because I moved from living in a countryside just with my siblings and my mom, and we had a tiny school where we were 9 people in my class, and we were the biggest class. It was just like a farmer school. And we only listened to classical music at school, at home. And I was dressed by mom in this really like weird way. Bless you, mom, I love you. But then we moved into a big city when I was 12, and I went to college. And I went from that tiny school to a school that had like over 2,000 people. And we lived right in the middle of this city. And they put me in a classroom where it was girls only, where I mostly preferred hang out with boys, and it was girls, mostly girls at that school. And I was horrified. And I remember vividly, for the entire first year, I was studying the behavior of others, and they were trying to bully me for my way of being, but I would never allow them. You know, I have like zero tolerance for that in my field. So I would always get back at them and be more angry and just like them. And I studied. And then when I started the year after, I was moved into another class, and I consciously decided to change completely. So I begged mom to buy me these jeans, like Levi jeans, Palladium, and these things. And then I changed my personality day after day to become a cool, popular kid. And then I had great time. I made like friends with all of these cool people, started drinking, started smoking. But it became like I had this very conscious acknowledgement that, okay, I'm going to change to have fun and to survive in this freaking jungle. And then it went on like that for years after years. And then it became kind of a thing. Oh, I can
Mhm.
go into that environment and I can put this mask on and I can be that woman and I can be there. And so in a way, I found it was like a skill that was useful because it's easy to adapt. But in another way, it's very challenging to realize all the masks that we have on, because some are obvious, but some that are really insidious. And I find
Mhm.
very strongly that what you share is that once we start stepping into personal development and getting to know ourselves, understanding our design and our architecture and everything, is that do we go through this? It's kind of a self-awakening. It's like, oh my God, I don't need to be that person. And then for a while, we're like, oh, like that, like a brain explosion, until there is another thing, and then another thing. And we really need to build that muscle, because there's always going to be another layer of bit of illusion of that pretends us like we're not good enough for something. And it goes very, very, very deep. So I love this
Mhm.
subject because I'm sure that people can relate here with this idea of having so many masks on and having like to put up a mask at work and with the partner or whatever.
And don't you find too that so many of us, really what we're craving at a fundamental level is to feel seen. You know, we're
Yes,
looking for people that can see us. And if we're putting up a mask in order to get attention or to feel, you know, and for a lot of us, even just mechanically, we need attention, or we need to be asked a question, or we need, you know, an invitation in order to activate our energy.
yes,
Not to say that you need that all the time, but if we create a persona or put on a mask that hides our true self, we can spend our whole life looking for people outside of us to see our true self and project so much onto our relationships, our partners, our friends, our community, the world at large,
yes,
because that little girl inside is wanting to feel seen. And this is very much the journey that I'm going through right now. You know, our relationships really reveal ourselves to ourselves in such beautiful ways. I'm going through an uncoupling process with my partner of 3 years, and it's been a really beautiful, challenging, emotional, healing, loving journey of really moving from kind of the power dynamics within the relationship, this kind of underlying, you know, frustrations that can show up when you're wanting someone to see you as, you know, all these different things that we these energy needs that we try to get from the people in our life, really moving that into a place of peace, you know, of acceptance, and tenderness, and allowing, you know, allowing your journey to continue in whatever way it will. But along with that, I realized so many of the parts of myself that I've been trying to get the world to see and recognize and validate and love, I'm the one that needs to see that part of me. You know, I'm the witness consciousness that I am, looking through this avatar called Rocky at you. You know, I'm qualified to see that part of myself and love that part of myself. And that's, to me, really what self-leadership is. It's asking yourself, what is it that I'm trying to achieve in the world? Or what, I was saying this to a client earlier today, because I was doing this for myself. Sometimes I'll be sitting or driving or, you know, somewhat inert, and I'll feel a restlessness. Like, I got to go do something. I got to get something. I got to text somebody. I got to make plans. I got to eat something. And I'll stop and ask, like, do I really need to do something right now? Mm-mm, mm-mm. Well, why do you feel like you need to do something? Do you know why? Uh-huh. Uh-huh. Is it because you don't feel like you're okay right now? Mm-mm, I'm not okay right now. I need to do something. And then when I really like talk to myself in that way, I try to be gentle with myself, and almost like you would talk to a child, because in many ways it is my inner child. Um, you know, are you bored? Uh-huh, uh-huh. Do you need stimulation? Uh-huh, uh-huh. Do you need someone to see you? Do you need someone to look at you and give you attention? Uh-huh, uh-huh, uh-huh. Oh, okay. Okay. You know, it's like, well, and what do you what would you like that person to say to you? You're talented, you're beautiful, I love you, I'm proud of you. Okay, you're talented, you're beautiful, I love you, I'm proud of you. You know, and like give myself that love, that attention. You know, we are just awareness after all. Not just, we're consciousness, but conscious awareness. And you know, we look through ourselves into the world, and it's so easy to project all of the wounded parts of ourselves onto everything that's outside of us, and then try to control that, fix what's inside. So
I
I
love
really, there's
it.
something really beautiful about sort of reparenting yourself and giving yourself, not just in the sort of cliche, you know, love yourself before you love others, but you know, really forming that type of intimate relationship with yourself and accommodating your own needs
Yes.
from the inside.
Yes, that's really life changing. Everything that you share relates so much, because when we continuously look for validation from the outside world, we create all of this codependency with others, where we just need them to, to make us feel good. And then if we don't feel good, it's their fault. It's the fault. It's my partner's fault. It's my kid's fault. It's my parents' fault. It's the neighbors. It's always someone else. And we are very good at being a victim of everyone else. But if we can really look inside and say, what is it that I need? What does my human, my inner child, whatever we want to call this aspect of our humanity, and we can actually attend to that and mother that and father and parent that and be there. Okay, so you just need to lie down on the couch and then feel sorry for yourself and watch Netflix for like 3 hours in a row because you feel like, you're such a victim right now. Is this what's going to make you feel good? Yes, yes.
Mm-hmm.
But
Yeah.
do,
Okay.
do that. But after 3 hours, is it okay to, pick your ass and say, okay, let's go to the gym or let's go for a walk now, because we need to shake the human into like more, to find more of the Rajasic, frequency
Mm-hmm.
rather than Tamasic frequency, like so we can be balanced into something. It's like when we can parent ourselves this way and be so present, then other people, they become just gift that enhance our life rather than all of these people that are supposed to heal us and that are supposed to, kind of create this effect of preventing us from feeling more hurt. I've got daughters, and I always say to them, when at school it happens, it doesn't really happen much any longer, but when they were younger, some people would be mean to them. And they would be like, oh, they were so mean. They tried to bully me. I was like, okay, so are you really what they describe you to be? It's like, no, it's not true. But I said, like, yes, you're right, it's not true. So why do you react, and why do you give them the power to make you think that you are that? If you know that it's not true, who cares what they say? And I can always see the shift in them. So it's impossible for them to become a victim. I don't allow them to become a victim of anything. They need to take responsibility for their own, feelings. And it's challenging. I don't say that I'm nailing it, but it's always getting them back to feel like, what is it that you need, and express this to me, because I'm safe. So do you need a cuddle? Do you need some space? You need some food? And I can see like how the energy goes out into frustration, aggression, or victimhood. And then when we are called back into taking a moment to breathe and say what is really happening here, can you attend to your own needs, or can you express what it is that you need to others, so you don't attack your sister, you don't attack your mom, you don't attack your boyfriend, your parents, or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Very big change unfold with this level of self-responsibility, and knowing about human design helps a great deal. Yes.
Well, I'll tell you, I follow the transits, and our biggest learning energy right now on the planet is it's the gate of inner peace, and
Oh,
it's denoted right now as personal responsibility. You know, we're collectively being asked to redefine the nature of our bargains, because ultimately it's inner peace that creates peace within our communities. But if we're not at peace, or in our relationships, if we're not at peace within ourselves, then we enter into unsustainable bargains. You give me some of your peace, I'll give you some of my peace, and then we'll have peace.
yes.
You know, and after a while you start to realize, like, hey, I'm giving you all this peace and you're giving me all this peace. Why do we both feel depleted? Why do we both feel not at peace? So, well, maybe because we're operating under the assumption that my piece is your responsibility and your piece is my responsibility, when, as you're saying, like, we're enough. I'm enough as I am. You know, it's not, you know, when these things happen that give us a narrative or a story that there's something wrong with us, or when we experience pain, if we don't properly release it, it feels like, or integrate it and process it, which it sounds like you're doing a beautiful job of with your children, then that pain just sort of gets stored somewhere, and then our mind goes to work to try to figure out how to make sure that something never happens that will activate the pain. And so before you know it, we're just walking through the world as this big cluster of all these samskaras, all this pain that's in our heart, you know, and then life attracts to us opportunities to unearth and release that pain from our heart. But every time the thing starts to manifest that brings you the pain, you say, oh, I don't want to look at that, I can't go there. And then you start running away from all of the opportunities that life is bringing you to really relax into what you're feeling and let it move through you and let it process. I mean, I feel like the last 2 months of my life, I don't know if I've cried more in my whole life. And yet when people ask me how I'm doing, I say, and I don't think I've ever felt so much emotional energy, so much sort of heart recalibration, so much release of so much that was stored in there. And I don't think I've ever felt better.
Yes.
You know, because that's the spiritual path. You know, I believe yoga and all these different tools. I think where it gets sort of distorted is in the notion that we're pursuing something, you know, the pursuit of self, or the pursuit of source, or the pursuit of divinity, that we're pursuing something. I think we don't have to pursue who it is we are. We just have to release and remove the obstacles that are keeping it from flowing. So all these tools and techniques are ultimately about releasing the obstacles, releasing the samskaras, releasing the boulders in the river, so to speak, that are messing up the flow. And it's an interesting path. It's actually a very simple path.
Yes. I love
for
that.
someone who spent years investigating the complexity of, you know, all these different techniques and practices and traditions and philosophies, it's like, just relax. When something comes up, when pain shows up, relax.
And it comes
Observe.
back to simplicity, and it's annoying because it's so simple for people who likes to geek. We can geek around the whole thing, and then we go back to the center. I love that it's coming towards the end of the conversation, because it's very much like all the great sage and great masters, they always say the same thing. It's like, live in the present moment, find joy, be kind, and know yourself. It's just like, you know yourself, you live in the present moment, and instead of always kind of like running in all directions. So we can run a bit, but then it's always going back to the self. And there is only one us now. So even if there are many different lifetimes, past lives, alternate realities, and so on, there is only one us that is breathing the air, that is having this conversation, that is listening to this conversation, wearing these clothes. So it's kind of, we can feel the ecstasy of life in the moment, because it's literally God is flying through us. It's like, yes, I'm Rocky speaking to Cendrine, Cendrine speaking to Rocky, and I'm expressing myself through the vehicle that I have chosen. And now I find more and more of this ability to speak the truth through these different avatar, this different architecture of human beings. So it's really like, for me, the path of self-realization is always going back to, yeah, exactly as you say, you remove the clutter, the obstacle, the resistances, because what's inside is like, it's annoyingly simple and gentle and kind and easy, and this is so pure, and it's always there. I used to think that, you know, we are trapped in the wheels of karma, so we have sin, so it means like all of these things, and we are heartbroken and so on. But with all the work that I am not doing, and all the ways that I have changed and upgraded myself, is that it is very different from what I perceived before. It's like we are whole and complete and within the unified field already. We just carry memories from ancestors, from inner child, from past life that are there to be healed and alchemized. So our role is just to remember the truth of our divinity, to witness what is unfolding, and to be the angel of our human, the angel behind our human. It says, let's try this. Let's try to heal this pocket of our current incarnation this way. Okay, it doesn't work. Let's try another way, but we gently try it. And there's consistency, there is discipline, there is courage as well that are needed, because stepping into self-leadership, self-realization, or whatever we want to call it, soul alignment, to me, it comes with, it's, I know that you can probably feel that, and many people would also feel that here is like the volume has been turned down and there's no way back. There's no way that we can just forget everything that we have done so far to become who we are and just say, I'm sweet now, I'm just going to end my life as I am, find a nice place on the beach and just, do nothing. It's just like, we're just going to keep going. So the person that we are now is so perfect, because who we were 6 months ago, 6 years ago, 6 years ago, we were perfect. We were trying our best. But now we have so many tools at our service, all the tools are there. It's amazing. Like, we can have a session with Rocky, we can have a session with so many amazing leaders, with so many people that offer things, and every session gives you tools to become more present to who you are. And so in 6 months, in 6 years, in 10 years, we look back at this moment. I was like, oh, I was so nice. I was so cute. I was so powerful. I was leading, but look where I am now. So it's always having this, like, this unconditional love, because if we can love who we are now, if we can love the past self, wholly, unconditionally, with so much compassion, and we continue to do the work, it means that we can shift very rapidly, because our future selves know that we have the capacity to hold ourselves no matter what. So we can take risk. We can go out of the many closets that we have put ourselves into. It's like, I try, let's express my sexuality differently. Let's express my, galactic connections differently. Let's express my relationship with my friends differently, because I want to express differently, because I am finding myself shifting.
I mean, what a time to be alive. Like we literally are entering into, we're basically in the new paradigm. We got a couple of years, but like, we're there. If you look at the 14 billion years the planet's been around, I mean, it's right now. So we've been charged, we've been tasked with the assignment of really clearing the collective distortion field of the Maya that's run, that's governed us for the last 400 years or so, which served a purpose. It was the what allowed us to build civilizations in the way that we did. You're a doctor, you're a lawyer, you're a builder, you're a contractor, you're a plumber, find your role, fulfill your duty, so that together we can come together and make more of us, speed up the process of genetic mutation. Let's get us, we're evolving, we're evolving more rapidly now than we ever have before. Like right in this moment, mutation is upon us. And if you're paying attention, you can't help but feel it. And so the fuel has been turned up, the intensity has been amplified, because I think in a few short years, the world is going to feel completely different. It's like one of my friends and collaborators, Matt Dozart, he says, it's like when you walk into an elevator and there's like the kind of background music playing, the muzak, they say in the elevator. And it's like we've been in the same elevator with the same background music for the last, several hundred years. And the music's about to change. And we're feeling it coming to a close. And we're feeling that, like, the DJ's like transitioning to a completely new background frequency. And that's, when we look at astrology, we look at like the celestial weather, that's essentially what we're looking at. What's the background frequency that's informing this ocean of information that we're all walking through? And the new era is activating us to really redefine the nature of our agreements, our own innate sense of value. Like what is actually valuable? Is it something we can measure with numbers, or is it something that is innate to our being? And is it our frequency? But our currency is now our frequency, as opposed to I get in the flow of currency by distorting my frequency and exchanging my frustration as sacrifice for monetary value. It's like that's
Yeah.
the frustration that we live in. So it's a really exciting time. It's a really intense time. It can be a very depressing time if you know, if you're trying to use your mind to figure out what to do, because the mutation is melancholic. You know, it's not all the time. It pulsates on and it pulsates off. And so really learning how to get into your own sync, your own flow, which is, you know, that's really what the work that I do is about, is helping people relax into their own unique strategy, their own unique flow for
Yeah.
moving through the world with less resistance. You know, the
Yeah.
more resistance you hold, the more effort it's going to take to navigate the currents of life, and the more you're trying to control the whole universe with your mind, you're going to be out of the flow of divine timing.
Yes.
And the way that we've set up our societies in large part is not in accordance with divine timing. It's these sort of man-made constructs of what happens on certain days and holidays and this, and like none of that has anything to do, well, not none of it, but a lot of it doesn't have anything to do with the actual frequencies that are present in the planet and within you. And so I think all of the, you know, all of the different tools that are available to folks at the end of the day, I think are all just unique versions of permission slips. You know,
Yeah.
people need to get the message that not only do you have permission, but it's imperative that you be yourself. And that means for us as generators saying, I'm not available for that right now. Ask me later. You know, and that doesn't make you a bad person. It doesn't make you a selfish. I mean, it makes you selfishly aligned with your own energy so that you can be in the flow of selflessness when you are available, you know, when it's correct, when it's going to be beneficial for you and the collective to step into that flow. So, you know, the deconditioning process is, I don't know. I don't think it's one right now. I don't think it's one that you can sort of half-ass. You're either on the train of really taking a look at your own personal narrative, let's say, and everybody that's on this call is up to speed with this, but I don't think it matters exactly, you know, what you're doing, what you're exploring. If it's giving you greater permission to be yourself, you'll feel it. It'll feel like relief. It'll feel satisfying. It'll feel sweet. It'll feel surprising. It'll feel peaceful. And if you're not, you know, it'll feel frustrating and enraging and bitter and, you know, disappointing. So, you know, and it's a process. It's an experiment. It's a big experiment. You know, the future is not it's not something that we have to figure out mentally. It's something we discover by being ourselves. And I believe that the codes that are needed to, let's say, solve the world's problems, but certainly the solutions to the conundrums that we face as society exist within all of our codes, our DNA. So the more that we're surrendered into what it means to be us, which in large part, you know, I think so many people are trying to transcend who they are, you know, to become limitless. And I push back against that notion, because, like, yes, consciousness is limitless and you can surrender into the ocean of consciousness and experience that oneness, that yoga. That's the goal of yoga, right? Is to merge with the oneness of consciousness, which we don't pursue, we surrender into. But as you look through you are limited, meaning that you see the world in the way that you see the world. You have the unique archetypes activated within you that other people don't. You know, that's really what human design offers, is a blueprint of what makes you uniquely you. And so there's limitation in that. It's like the light that shines through the crystal is infinite, but the crystal is limited. So if we polish off that crystal and position it correctly, you know, just so in the light, then you get this really unique fractalization, this rainbow, this hologram of light that floods through the crystal. And that's you fulfilling your unique and one of a kind role in the cosmos. So a big part of this process for me is actually dismantling this notion that I need to somehow become something greater than I am, or expand, or even upgrade or increase. And it's really more accepting life is the way it is, the framework that we have right now. We don't have to burn it all down. We can build upon the framework. We can innovate sustainably. We can find new solutions, and we can accept our own inner limitations, not as a negative thing, but actually as the unique codes that we are here to express when we're in our own flow.
Yes. Oh my God, Rocky, I'm giving you a virtual hug because everything that you share is so absolutely amazing. I'm exactly on the same wavelength. I can relate to everything that you share. There's so much depth, so much humility, but also I can feel like you're embodying a lot of what you share. So I'm really, really so grateful. So grateful for you, and so grateful for coming and joining this summit and sharing so much wisdom with so many of us. I'm
Well, and
really
thank you for the invitation. Thank you for recognizing me, and thank you for being you, and thank you for really surrendering into the unique and powerful and beautiful and enriching path that you're on, because it is one of a kind, and it is so valuable. And it's been also just really thrilling to feel your signature, your satisfaction, activating even through my phone, where I'm like, you are medicine. I receive your medicine, and it feels really sweet as well. So thank you.
Thank you so much for your words, Rocky. It's been really a great pleasure. So Rocky, I send you lots of love, and we keep in touch. Take care.
Love you as well. Take good care. Love you.
Bye.